Tuvasa the Sunlit versus Anafenza Kin-Tree Spirit. Good to have Song of the Dryads in hand, but we don't have much in the ways of ramp, and we're missing a blue source as well. I'm going to Tempt Fate and mulligan that. And Tempt Fate I have, apparently. Wild Growth onto Forest, and then Abundant Growth. Draws us a card at least. Let's just try keeping that. Are we going to regret getting rid of Aura of Silence? I think I'd rather have Sterling Grove, so let's get rid of the Aura of Silence. And then we will draw a card with Abundant Growth. And we get back into that Greater Auramancy. Really need a land now. A Sol Ring from our opponent on turn 1. And an Estrid's Invocation. We're just going to have to enchant this with the Wild Growth. And then at least if we get into a land next turn, we've still got 3 mana. But there's not necessarily a whole lot we can do with 3 mana. We could Imprisoned in the Moon on the Anafenza, which is probably coming down this turn. And down comes the Anafenza off of an Opal Palace, so it comes in with a plus counter. And no land for us. Yeah, apparently we should have kept hold of that opening hand. Let's go for the Journey to Nowhere onto our opponent's commander. See how long we can stem the bleeding. Just going for Anafenza again. Coming in with a couple of plus counters this time. Alright, Fertile Ground. I mean, it's more mana, but it's not something that we're really hoping for. We want lands. Really got our fingers crossed that Anafenza doesn't get Shroud now, because Imprisoned in the Moon is going to be going on that during our turn. Jareth, Leonin Titan. Whenever it blocks, it gets +7/+7. And for white, it can gain protection from a colour. And in comes Anafenza, which gets an additional plus counter on it. So we've got 5 commander damage on us now, which isn't nothing. Still no lands. Not that you expected anything less. We can create Bant at least. But we're just going for Imprisoned in the Moon here to get rid of that Anafenza. Now I think the plan is to go for our Tuvasa next turn and then start casting enchantments and really try hard to get into a land. Ajani, Caller of the Pride. And the limit break on that is a White Sun Zenith, isn't it? Well, pretty much, where X is your life total. And this might be Cat Tribal, actually. There's a Cat Giant there, and Ajani's Pride Mate. Hitting us for 4 with the Jareth, Leonin Titan. And there we are, a land, finally. So, do we want to do anything other than what we were planning? I think that puts us on 4 mana, does it not? Yes, it does, so we can't go for Mirari's Wake. In that case, let's go for Tuvasa. And we'll see if we can create the comeback of the century here. At least Tuvasa comes in as a 6/6. But this is whenever it blocks. It's not whenever we block it, so that is not something that we need to worry about. Although this thing can give itself protection from a colour, so it will be able to get through. So we're probably taking 4 points of damage a turn until we get rid of that. Problem is, how are we going to get rid of it if it can give itself protection from colours? We'll just have to hope our opponent doesn't leave up enough mana to use that ability. Ajani putting a plus counter onto this thing. And then a Spear of Heliod putting it up to a 6/9. So now we don't want to block with Tuvasa. At least we're holding the Pride Mate at bay though. 2 cards in our opponent's hand, and now down to 1 after the Mammoth Umbra. The enchanted creature gets +3/+3 and has Vigilance and Totem Armor. That is now a 9/12. And we could block here, but do we want to? I think we have to keep Tuvasa in play. They haven't left up a white source to protect that Jareth, so I think we have to go for the Estrid's Invocation. Let's draw with Miri's Guile first. because we really need to make lands. If there isn't a land in the top 3 with Miri's Guile next turn, then we know that someone is up there not wanting us to draw into them. Estrid's Invocation coming down. We will copy the Imprisoned in the Moon. It enters as Imprisoned in the Moon, which allows us to turn Jareth into a land. That also knocks the Umbra off of that. Now I think our opponent has a tough choice in either keeping their Ajani and maybe going for the limit break there, or they can keep their Pridemate. They decide to let the Planeswalker go. Hopefully we don't see double strike from the Pridemate here. Regal Caracal, so this is definitely Cat Tribal. We're going to have to allow that, unfortunately, but it seems as though our opponent is going to be going wide on us. We've been way too slow this game. And the Pridemate now has lifelink as well. Cat Tribal does seem like something really fun to build. Regal Caracal is a fun card. And I do like my tribal decks, as the name suggests. Now then, do we want to keep Imprisoned in the Moon on Jareth? I think we have to, don't we? See what we get off Mirari's Wake first, and then we can decide whether we want to or not. And there we go, we've barely got a land on top. We've got Mesa Enchantress, Argothian Enchantress. All depends on what we want to go for this turn. I don't think we can actually do anything with any of that. I think our opponent's going wide on us. And the problem is we can't Mystical Tutor either. Yeah, there's nothing we can do, is there? Yeah, we'll just have to leave Imprisoned in the Moon where it is. We are dead either way here. Our opponent's going wide on us. We have not drawn into any lands. Turn 8, and that's the 3rd land that we've drawn into. Let's play that and go for Herald of the Pantheon. And then we'll just play out the Greater Oromancy. And that will draw us a card. It will also gain us a life with Herald of the Pantheon. And then it's Argothian Enchantress. And you never know, with these blockers in play, our opponent might not want to swing in. They will lose a creature. So we might buy ourselves a turn doing this. We've got a couple of new cards on top of the deck now as well that we are going to see next turn. Only one card in Anafenza's hand. And it looks like they're playing it. That is a Sigilled Sword of Valeron. The equipped creature has +2/+0 Vigilance and is a knight in addition to its other types. Whenever the equipped creature attacks, you get a knight token with Vigilance. That is attacking. Can they go wide on us then, is the question. If we block there and there, we take 3, we get rid of that, and then we take 3. That is 6 damage to us. Oh, and they're just going in with that, so in that case, let's block there. We'll hopefully rely on a little bit of life gain from Herald of the Pantheon. Our opponent gains life from the blocks, which puts a counter on the Pridemate. And then it looks like they're equipping up that sword, really looking to go wide on us now. And the problem is we can't go for a board wipe with Mystical Tutor because the only blue source we've got is from this land, and we won't actually be able to cast the board wipe after we draw into it. Again, put Imprisoned in the Moon on the bottom first, then look at the top 3 with Miri's Guile. Alright, there's a Seal Away. Ghostly Prison doesn't necessarily help us, does it? Because, yeah, I mean we can cast it at least. Yeah, I think we go Mesa Enchantress, Ghostly Prison, and Seal Away. Let's say no to Estrid's Invocation again. Oh, and actually I put those in the wrong order, didn't I? I should have put Ghostly Prison on top, then we could have drawn into the Seal Away. I always misplay with this thing. It has to exile a tapped creature. Does all of our opponent's stuff have Vigilance? No, there's some stuff without Vigilance. Gonna have to go for Mirari's Wake here, I think, in the hope that our opponent doesn't kill us off next turn. So we've got 3 fresh cards on top now. Seal Away, we're not going to be able to cast during our opponent's turn anyway, so we might as well just use it for life gain and card draw. A Seal of Cleansing will be useful to get rid of that thing. And that bumps Tuvasa up to a 12-12, so the Pride Mate can't swing in as easily now. Not unless they want to kill it off. We'll also trade something with the Herald of the Pantheon as well. Our opponent just gets into a land and there's no bluffing from them, they just play it out immediately. In fact, I think our opponent's got the win here, haven't they? If they just swing in, I think they can go wide on us. We block there, there and there. And then they get, oh no, we'd be left at 1. Because they'd get a 3-3 knight, I think it is. No, it's a 2-2 knight, but it would be a 3-3 from the Spear of Heliod. Let's see if they want to commit a lot to the board here. Looks like they do. Now, nothing has first strike or anything, does it? That doesn't... Well, we have to block either way. So let's block there. There and there. And that forces us to block. Yeah, definitely should have gone for Ghostly Prison on top. That might have lost us the game. Along with being completely mana screwed, that is. So we are knocked down to 1. And our opponent is at 52 life. Again, Imprisoned in the Moon on first. Quarantine Field. Now that changes things, does it not? And we've got the mana to do stuff as well. Let's go Leyline, Enchantress's Presence, and Quarantine Field. Now I think we can flicker Estrid's Invocation. We'll say yes to that. And make it a copy of Mirari's Wake to give us more mana. And then let's go like this. We'll make as much white mana as we can. And we'll just go in for the Quarantine Field. We'll add blue here because we're going to have odd colours. So we might want to go for Mystical Tutor with the mana that's left over. But we can only exile 4 things here, can't we? Yeah, so we're dead either way, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's a shame. We just haven't gotten into the mana, unfortunately. So let's go like that, like that. Yeah, it's this Sigilled Sword that was the main problem for us. Had we gotten into that Ghostly Prison at the right time, then potentially we wouldn't have been knocked out of this one. Getting rid of that doesn't do anything. Yeah, unfortunately we were 1 mana away from getting enough counters on this to get rid of all of our opponent's permanents. So that's a shame. They are just going to go wide on us next turn. Let's Mystical Tutor. And there's what we needed, a Supreme Verdict. Not that we could have cast it. Well, yeah, we could have done if it was on top. We'll just shove a Supreme Verdict on top and pass the turn to our opponent. Yeah, as far as I could see, there was nothing we could do there. We were 1 mana away from getting rid of all of our opponent's creatures. And we had to flicker the Estrid's Invocation to make it a copy of Mirari's Wake so that we had enough mana to go for the Quarantine Field. The Ghostly Prison wouldn't have kept our opponent from going wide on us because they've got plenty of mana. So I don't think there's anything we could have done there. Apart from the fact that I didn't put Ghostly Prison on top instead of the Seal Away. This thing has thrown me off a couple of times because I don't well enough know what it does. And should have taken a bit more time and put this on top and then Ghostly Prison so that we draw into that. But our opponent probably would have tapped out and dealt the same amount of damage to us anyway. So our opponent goes wide on us with a Sigilled Sword. And that is the game. Yeah, if it wasn't for that sword, then I think we could have pulled back there. But also we were screwed on mana. And our opponent got a really good cat army on the go. There's Ajani and the Ajani's Pride Mate. But my favourite part of the deck was the Regal Caracal. Really like this card. And it's one of those pet cards for me that actually might encourage me to make a cat tribal deck at some point. So yeah, we'll have a think about that. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed this revisit to Tuvasa the Sunlit. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.